people. It's going to be a lot today. It's going to be a lot today. Yes, we are back. We are back indeed. We are back indeed. So, if you're one of these people that clicked on the video, the live stream after it's been posted, guess what? You're actually my favorite because I don't get a lot of views on my videos once they're posted or my live streams once they're posted. So, y'all are my favorites. Shh. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk. So, I haven't been live actually since this all happened. I was super busy Thursday and Friday of last week, and I also was busy over the weekend. I have a lot of stuff personally going on in my life. My mother had hip surgery, so I've been helping take care of her. I'm also moving into a new place, and I've also been working a lot, especially over the weekend. So, you know, I've had a lot going on personally in my life that I didn't even have time really to do my live streams. And I'm really happy to discuss this finally, because I think now is the opportune time for me to actually share and just break it all down, because it's been about a week. It's been about a week after the horrific shooting of Charlie Kirk and his death. And I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid right off. My empathy tank for this man is very little. Now, saying that, no one deserves the kind of death that he had. That's why a lot of Americans, particularly on the left, advocate, hey, we need some common sense gun laws to get guns out of the hands of citizens that are prone to doing violence. We need to address mental health. So, it's breaking all this down. The big theme today is going to be talking about the obvious double standard. Whose lives matter and whose lives don't. That's going to be the key theme throughout the whole live. So, this all happened, and I saw the video. It was not... Oh God, it did upset my stomach. Like, I saw the video of it. Now, if you know me, I can't stand Charlie Kirk. This is a guy who thinks I should be stoned to death. Let me say that again. As a gay person, he literally says that gay people should be stoned to death. Now, just because he might wish that upon me doesn't mean I'm gonna wish ill upon him. No. That's nonsense. Like, why would I do that? If I am the kind of person I am that wants to extend healthcare to everybody, have common sense gun laws so that we eliminate gun violence, or at least severely reduce it. He never said that? Oh, yes, he did, Frank. But good try. I'm going to be bringing all the receipts. Your denial only shows your ignorance, nothing else. But putting all of that aside, it doesn't mean that I can't have at least some sympathy for him. Because, like, no one should go through, not even Charlie Kirk should have gone through this kind of murder. Oh, thank you, C-Bar. Hello. Hello. So, let's break everything down here. First, I'm objectively just going to be sharing some of the things that he said. Now, pause. If I'm not here, this first part is me just objectively sharing what he said. All right? So know this. These are things that he has said. In this segment, I'm going to do my best to not even throw in any sort of personal opinion or analysis, nothing. I'm just going to repeat things that he said. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up new age term, and it does a lot of damage. That's one of them. I'll be sharing the specific quote here in a second. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. Thank you for the super chats. I appreciate you. C-Bar, I appreciate you so much. I'm happy that you're here. You're amazing. So those are just some things that he's objectively said. I'll share this one specifically with you in a minute. And again, I'm not putting my opinion in here whatsoever for right now. No, this is just literally what he said. Let me give you some examples. Quote, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. The Great Replacement is not a theory, it's a reality. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder if she's there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? Black crime is a huge problem. No one wants to talk about. It's not racism. I'm just reading things out here. I'm just reading it out. I'm not even providing any analysis or context or anything yet. Juneteenth threatens the fabric of our country. Juneteenth should not be a federal holiday, are some of the things that Charlie Kirk has said. Regarding Martin Luther King Jr., MLK was awful. He's not a good person. He said one good thing he actually didn't believe. When he was talking about Muslims, he said, Muslims plan to conquer Europe by demographic replacement. Will Europe wake up in time? I'm not asserting my opinion whatsoever. I'm just literally reading out things that he said. Regarding Palestine, I don't think the place exists. Regarding transgender people, you're an abomination to God. And I'm not even reading everything. Again, I read this one out. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. If you're a WNBA pot-smoking black lesbian, do you get treated better than a United States Marine? Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more. I'm just reading out some of the things that Charlie Kirk said. Period. End of story. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I am here to give you the information. These are things that this man has said. If you're enjoying the live stream so far, please make sure to like the stream. I appreciate all of you. I already read out that last one there. If we would have said, If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called racists. Now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. You don't have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. These are just things that he has said. In regards to being asked about a 10-year-old being raped and having to deliver the fetus when it came to term. The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered. Responding to a question about would he support his 10-year-old daughter aborting a pregnancy conceived of rape on the debate surrounded. He also said, we need to have a Nuremberg-style trial for every gender-affirming clinic doctor. We need it immediately. These are things that Charlie Kirk has said. Again, not putting in my opinion in here whatsoever. I'm just highlighting the objective things that he has said. Quote, America was at its peak when we halted immigration for 40 years, and we dropped our foreign-born percentage to its lowest ever. We should be unafraid to do that. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It's rational. America has freedom of religion, of course, but we should be frank. Large dedicated Islamic areas are a threat to America. Islam is the sword the left is using to slit the throat of America. There is no separation of church and state. And in this exchange, Charlie Kirk actually said that black people, black folk, were better off when they were enslaved. They committed less crimes when they were enslaved versus with the Civil Rights Act. So I actually put this through in a transcript. By the way, as a quick little aside, I used Grok to provide a transcript for me, and it did, but the format was really, really unsettling. It just looked really choppy. So if anyone wants to use Grok for transcription, I kind of shy away against it. It will do it, but it looks really choppy. Spoken words. This shows that they were actually better in the 1940s. And Charlie Kirk said that, referring to, they, as in black folk, were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes. So Charlie Kirk said, hey, during 1940, black people committed less crimes. It was better for them in 1940 than today. And the person he was talking with said maybe they were afraid. 4,000 black men and women and children, they were killed in violent lynch mobs. And he goes on to say, Black America is worse than it has been in the last 80 years. And in regards to the Civil Rights Act, he said himself, this has been proven, that he said that it was a mistake. Quote, we made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. Rating correct attribution. And going further, of course, the Civil Rights Act, the landmark federal law that banned discrimination in public places, provided for integration of schools and public spaces, and made employment discrimination illegal. What's interesting is he was on a whole crusade talking about MLK. Quote, MLK was awful. He's not a good person. He said one good thing he didn't actually believe. I'm not asserting my opinion right now. I'm just literally reading this out here. Quote, for a while, Dr. King's stock was very much... Oh, wait, that's the quote of someone else. Let me read off the other things from him. Quote, I have a very radical view on this, but I can't defend it. And I've thought about it. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. These are just some of the things. The courts have been very weak on this. Federal courts just yield to the Civil Rights Act as if it's the American Constitution. The law is ultimately a way to refound the country, and it's a way to get rid of the First Amendment, said Charlie Kirk. Putting all of that in context. Those were just things that he said. Now, as I can see in the chat here a little bit, this is what's happening. I'm literally just reading the things that he said. He believed. He spewed. And there are all these people that are constantly being like, that are in the chat here being like, oh my God, you're taking it out of context. You're horrible. That's a horrible thing to say. It's like, okay. Then, why are we supposed to have excessive amounts of empathy for this man? Seriously. Like, now knowing all of that, here's where it comes my opinion, my analysis. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. When this whole thing happened, I decided, you know what? I'm actually not going to go live on, because this happened, I think it was on a Wednesday. I said, you know what? I'm not going to go live on Thursday or Friday, because number one, my mom is having hip surgery, had a lot going on. Two, I've been moving into a new apartment, so I've had that going on. Three, I've been working a lot. But that all aside, I said, you know what? If I go live on those days, my response is going to be very, very low in sympathy and empathy. Now, I don't think that if I were to have gone live, I might have been saying some of like the right things, but it would have been seemed as insensitive. So you know what I did? I didn't go live. I didn't go live and basically say, you know, what I was really feeling, because I'm not going to add fuel to the fire. You know, seriously, like when this first happened, my knee-jerk reaction, of course, is like, political violence is scary. The fact that there are people out there who will hurt others based on speaking is really, really scary, because I'm one of those people. That at the same time, it has to be put in context what this guy advocated for, what this guy endlessly talked about. I mean, I just read the quotes from him. It's not justifying it, but it's putting it in context. So when all of this happened, I'm like, yeah, political violence, it's not okay. It's horrifying watching the video, thinking that could be anybody. Like, not even Charlie Kirk, a guy who at one point said that gay people should be stoned to death. People like me should be stoned to death. This is a guy who claimed that the Civil Rights Act should never have been passed. Thinks that black folk were better under slavery, or even better, I shouldn't say, that might be taken, that's probably, well, hold on. No. Hold on. I got that wrong. It was in the 1940s, I apologize. Better in the 1940s than today. So like, it's just, here's what it's giving. This was getting my mind mixed up real quick. Hold on. So with all of this being said, this is a guy who never shed one single tear for anyone who were victims of gun violence. And then he said, well, I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. Now, that doesn't justify him being the victim of gun violence whatsoever. No. No one deserves that. Nobody deserves that. And when I saw the video, it literally churned my stomach. I'm like, that's gruesome. But it's also important to understand what could motivate someone to going this far. Again, I listed off a lot of the things that he said. And I just want to get to some people's comments and responses. This is also what's happening really quickly before I get to that. People like me, whenever I see political violence, I condemn it. Seriously. If you all were there when President Trump was almost the victim, was almost assassinated by Thomas Matthew Crooks. Look, I can't stand Trump. Do I think he's a threat to democracy? 100%. 100%. Though when I see it, I'm like, look, that kind of gun violence is not the answer. It's not the answer. Oftentimes, if you resort to violence as a way to try and win, then you don't believe enough in your argument. You don't believe enough in your words to actually do it, to actually like achieve that, you know? Resorting to violence is low-key kind of childish in a way. Now, you could say that's up for debate. I'm not here to tell you what to think. But right now, when anyone on the left, whether that's liberals, progressives, moderates, whatever, moderates aren't really on the left, but you know what I mean. Whenever there's a political violence, they condemn it. And this is what happens when it's right-wing political violence. Oh, who is it against? Is it against Paul Pelosi? Is it against the police officers at January 6th? Is it against Melissa Hortman? Is this against all of these, like, the kidnapping plot against Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan? There are endless examples of when there is right-wing violence going against the left. They laugh it off. They make fun of it. They make memes. They raise funds to help the criminals. When Paul Pelosi, I can't stand Nancy Pelosi, but when Paul Pelosi, her husband, was attacked, Charlie Kirk literally was advocating, trying to raise funds to get the attacker out of jail for his bail. So, and then when right-wing politicians, oh, who is it against? The right? They lower the flags. They call that person a saint. Here's the thing. In the wake of this whole thing that was happening with Charlie Kirk, a lot of people, their knee-jerk reaction was, you're an awful person if you don't have excessive amounts of empathy to give to this guy. My question is, why would I have excessive amounts of empathy to someone who would never extend it to me whatsoever? And notice the word extensive. When I saw the video, obviously, it churned my stomach. I'm like, no one, not even someone who wants me dead, should have to go through that. No. That's not okay. Violence is not the answer. But put it in context. Understand why people might not feel excessive amounts of empathy for a guy that says the most racist crap. So let me just get to some people's responses and comments here. This person was like, holy shices. Twitter is so quick to police this Charlie Kirk situation. Little babies get gunned down, and that effort was free to mock grieving parents, champion guns, and blame it all on mental illness. Now some psycho busts a cap on him, and we gotta be respectful? F off. And like, this person said, I keep responding to every single one of them with thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. Gave his life for what he believed. Hope it was worth it. Also, this is why I'm never saying it's okay for people to die. It's never okay. But he thought it was. And what's so interesting with all of this is, what would Charlie Kirk say today? Well, by his own logic, if it was someone on his side, oh, it would be the biggest thing ever. If it's someone on an opposing side, he would laugh about it. This is the thing. There is an obvious double standard in this country. There's an obvious double standard when it comes to whose life matters. Thousands of innocent children, innocent people, Palestinians, can just be victims of a genocide that our country perpetuates, or hundreds of kids in schools can be gunned down and murdered, going to a place to learn. And there's no flags that are reduced to half staff. No. There's no, like, national moment of silence. The NFL doesn't do some moment of silence. This is the thing. It's an obvious double standard. And this is another thing. Why? If you're one of these MAGA right-wingers, why? What are you so upset about? What are you so upset about? What are you, like, so upset about? Genuinely asking. Because this double standard benefits you to such a massive extent. If Charlie Kirk was here today, do you think that he would extend empathy to himself? By his own words, by his own logic, by his own ideology? No. So people are like, oh, you should have some empathy for him. He literally said empathy is a new age term that does a lot of damage. He said that gun deaths were just a unfortunate result of protecting the Second Amendment for our other God-given rights. This is the same guy who literally said that black women do not have the same cognitive processing power as normal white folk and take their jobs. This is a guy who does not believe that the Civil Rights Act should have passed. He said that it was like laying the groundwork for DEI. So spare me if I'm supposed to have excessive amounts of empathy for someone like this. This is why I didn't go live on Thursday and Friday, actually. I said, and I said this to some of my core friends and fam in here, my mod group. I was like, look, if I go live now, it could be deemed as very insensitive when this whole thing just happened. So I'm just not going to, because I don't want to share my true thoughts, feelings here. I'm not saying that he deserved it. No one deserves that. No one deserves that. But let me put it in context here. There's a guy by the name of Therapy Jeff that put it really, really well. He said, it makes sense if you don't feel a deep well of empathy for someone who made a career out of refusing to show it for others. I want to normalize that, because sometimes when a public figure dies, especially in a tragic way, people rush to say, you have to be compassionate right now. Don't speak ill of the dead. But if that person spent their life dismissing other people's pain, mocking it, minimizing it, actively contributing to it, it makes sense that your empathy tank might run dry. That doesn't mean that you're celebrating. It doesn't mean that you're cold-hearted. It means that your compassion has limits. And those limits are actually healthy and often shaped by how much compassion other people have showed to you in your lifetime. You're not obligated to manufacture sorrow for someone who never extended any to you, your community, or to people you care about. So you can hold on to both. And says, this isn't about telling you not to be compassionate. It's about giving you permission to notice whatever you honestly feel or don't feel and trust that it's valid. Let me also share a story here. I've shared this story several times in my live stream. When I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I was actually walking down the street one day, and there was a guy who was stumbling, and he was obviously incredibly drunk. And he also had like a bloody wound on his head. And I was like, this guy is clearly not okay. I go over to him and I said, hey, sir, do you need anything? Should I call 911? And basically he was like groveling to me. You can tell when someone's groveling something, or they might not be super eloquent, but you can tell that it was something meant to be offensive. He was trying to call me a slur. Even being so intoxicated, he was trying to be nasty. And he actually ended up falling onto me because he was so like drunk, almost unconscious. If I had not caught him, he would have fallen face first on the pavement and probably would have died. Now, me being the person I am, I'm going to extend empathy to that person, even though they were being nasty. So and then he woke up. There were other people that helped out. We got 911. It was all, fine. So I also was like, you know what? Even if you're being nasty to me, I'm not going to be nasty to you. Okay? I'm going to do the right thing. And see, and you're like, okay, knowing all of that, why don't you have extensive amounts of empathy for Charlie Kirk? Because that was a one-time grievance. That guy was being nasty just that one time in my life. This guy endlessly did so much damage to so many groups of people that I can't extend that same empathy back. Because I'm not just putting his death in context, I'm putting the deaths of so many other people in context. If you are bending over backwards to be so sympathetic for a man that profited off of the pain of other people, then you need to question your own definition of compassion, your own definition of empathy. Because what it's showing is that there is a double standard where you view other people's lives as mattering more, or being more consequential, or being more important than others. Look, a life is a life. A life dying is not okay. But conservatives don't believe that. They think that it's okay for children to be shot up in school. They think that it's okay to do nothing in the wake of gun violence. Just putting it all in context here, innocent Palestinian people are being victims of a genocide being funded by our country. Trans people are being hyper-targeted when they're just trying to live. They're just trying to exist. And because right-wingers have this black and white capacity, they can't process nuance, they go and they try to root out things and eliminate things they don't understand. That's why they latch on to people who are obviously racist, sexist bigots like Charlie Kirk. And then they get all bent out of shape and we don't have excessive amounts of empathy for them. Sorry, our compassion, our empathy isn't just, it's not dependent, we put all of everyone's deaths, everyone's tragedies in context. Don't ask me to bend over backwards for someone who ended up being an apologist for kids being murdered in school, when all of a sudden, he, unfortunately, is the victim of gun violence. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have empathy for him. That doesn't mean I don't have sympathy. Because, like, look, the fact that that shooting was awful to watch, it churned my stomach. Can't stand Charlie Kirk, but that political violence, that gun violence, I should say, it's not okay. It's not okay whatsoever. No one deserves that. Not even Charlie Kirk. It's just important to point out that what you put out in the world inevitably will come back to you. Again, let me just read off some of his comments, and then I have to go because I need to get to work. He said, I can't stand the word empathy. I actually think it's a new age term that does a lot of damage. I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. This is a guy who says that MLK was a bad person, that black people were better off in slavery and subjugation before the 1940s. He was saying, oh, look, black people committed less crimes before the Civil Rights Act. Which, I don't even know if that's true or not, but that doesn't matter because they didn't have the same rights anyway. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. All of this is just so racially coded. The Great Replacement is not a theory, it's a reality. You really think that non-white people are that organized that they plan on trying to displace people? It's like, you're so craven to be the victim of something. Is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? Affirmative action is just extending equality and equity to people, being hyper-conscious of the barriers that have always been put in place. Of course, I'm not going to be able to convince anyone, in regards to that. If I see someone in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder if she's there because of excellence or is she there because of affirmative action. I don't think the place exists. Transgender people, you're an abomination to God. Martin Luther King Jr., he was awful. He's not a good person. Muslims plan to conquer Europe through demographic replacement. Will Europe wake up in time? Juneteenth threatens the fabric of our country. How does a holiday celebrating the end of the Civil War, where the last community of black folk were informed of them actually being freed, how is that threatening the fabric of the country? You're telling on yourself that you're an incredible racist. I don't understand why people think that, I don't understand why people are accepting that kind of racism anymore. It's scary to me. It's seriously scary to me. Like, putting all of this in context, if I don't feel an extensive amount of empathy for this guy, I'm not going to bat an eye because I'm putting all the deaths of everyone else also in perspective. And that's the thing. That's the thing. There was also a shooting on the same day that Charlie Kirk died. There is violence, gun violence, all the time in this country. But we bend over backwards to extend it to someone who would never extend it to others. It just makes me sick to my core. It really does. And it's like, hold on. In regards to this, if you're angry at me for that response, I've got a few hundred school shootings I'd like to discuss. And I also want to point out, this is so perfect. In the eyes, I'm only a jerk. I'm only seen as insensitive or absurd in the eyes of hypocrites, in the eyes of these right-wing hypocrites. Maybe you should think about that. Anyway, I need to go. I need to skedaddle. So I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate every single one of you so much. Shout out to my amazing moderators in here. I seriously love all of you, even if you don't like me, okay? I encourage you, unlike Charlie Kirk, to go forward and have empathy. Also know the extent of your empathy. Don't place it in people who constantly, over excessively, do damage to you. Now, here's the thing. As I shared that story earlier, I saved a homophobic man's life. Don't promote or give excessive amounts of empathy to people who never give it back, because then you're depleting your well dry. So, I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are amazing. Shout out to my amazing moderators, Elisa, Ellie, Akicha, Cherie. I cannot do any of this without you all. Kate, Ginger Monster, C-Bar, thank you for being here. Kate, I love all of you so much. Jenny, I cannot do any of this without you all. So, anyway, just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye!